Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam Hancock. Today's video, I want to talk about 5 what I think are really important updates. We're gonna go categorical so I can kind of kill 20 birds, one stone. But we're gonna talk about things like schools. It's an interesting time for them. So there's multiple things moving, coming soon, evolving that add a lot of interesting layers to the area that did not exist before. Already in the state's #1 public school district, so all good there. I wanna talk about the idea of getting closer to the traditionally best parts of Sarasota, the west of the interstate, closer to the coast, but in suburban environments without having to do urban infill one-off knockdown houses because of the evolution of what some of these builders are doing, these boutique small enclaves. So I want to mention some of that. The idea of some communities you might be overlooking or not taking it as serious that when something good that they're building now runs out, that there might not be 5 options behind it, especially when it comes to deeded golf. So I want to highlight that a little bit. New restaurants, there's a new aquarium that opened today as I'm filming this video, so we'll talk about that. And then lastly, some road developments, road expansions, why that matters at all, where it's happening, and everything in between. So I hope you enjoyed today's take. I'm gonna try to show everything as I'm saying, because that's what I would want if someone was trying to tell me this. If I can assist you in any way in the Southwest Florida real estate market, please consider reaching out if you resonate with anything in today's video. And we also have some really nice new guides and newsletter that are in the description box below. So check all that out and let's hop in. Okay, update number 1, no particular order. Let's talk schools. Interesting timing right now. There's always things kind of moving, but we have the most line of sight to what's actually going to be happening and what just happened right now. So just statewide, if you're looking at public schools, Sarasota County at any given time is #1 or #2 in the entire state. It's typically St. Johns County, which is like St. Augustine adjacent, and Sarasota that are always going back and forth on there for what it's worth. Sarasota County would be basically, Sarasota as you know it, most of the beaches, Venice, parts of Englewood, Nokomis, Osprey. A lot of Lakewood Ranch and the area that people are really hot on is Manatee County. Part of it's in Sarasota, most of it's in Manatee. So there's that. But right now, the first one I think is interesting is Wellen Park High School is going to be released August 2026. It's going to be pretty sweet. Wellen Park is in southern Venice, western Northport, northern Englewood area. I'll show you here in a second. But it's like all these new schools, they're just able to do stuff that like you wouldn't have done 20 years ago. That the STEM programs are crazy. The sporting facilities are crazy. 325,000 square feet. That's going to be really interesting. Where this one's going to sit is, here's Wellen Park's map. And I'll kind of show you, if you take Venice just from like a macro non-zoomed in version, if it will load here. So basically like this is Venice Island, downtown Venice. This is like Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch is over here. And so Venice is down here just in, if you're not super familiar with the area. And then Wellen Park like goes this way. So you're southeast of the main downtown of the town, and then the water's over here. But you can see on the interstate line here, it's really hard to get far from the water when you go this far south because it's a very narrow part of the state. So you're just like coastal because you're down there basically. So that's this angle right here. You can see that's just per perspective. The school's going to sit right here. It is a high school, August 2026. And from what I understand, the campus is big enough to support a K-8 as well. So when they finish this thing out, you'll have K-12 all the way in that area. The other great thing about, obviously we're dealing with mostly people relocating. If you're relocating with kids, a lot of it's like a new community you're trying to form, and it will typically, as anyone, I have 2 kids under 9 knows with 2 kids that age, it's just who you're around, it's the school, it's sporting events, all that kind of stuff that will be your friend group most likely. The cool thing about going into a master plan area and doing that is everybody's new. So like, just like people are retiring, trying to do it 55 and up, it's the same thing for this. So these schools, even though they'll be public, in every sense of the word, it's kind of built to support all the new neighborhoods around it. So everybody would be in a very similar place to you in theory because these neighborhoods are less than 5 years old. So leave that there. The one thing to look at is if you're moving in the next 12 months or so is that a lot of these neighborhoods are close to it, but there's like 2 in particular that are kid-friendly neighborhoods that will probably give you walking distance, at least golf cart. Lakespur is the closest. This is Pulte, Mattamy, Pulte is your biggest presence. It's incredibly affordable compared to anything else you'll see with them. If you're in this community with Pulte and you build the same house over here at Beach Walk, you'll save $150,000 on average right here on the same floor plan. So that's interesting. A lot of affordability and walkability. If you wanted a more custom version of that, Everly sits next door. That is Homes by West Bay. It's all the custom builders. Arthur Ruttenberg, Lee Weatherington, I think John Cannon's in there. So you could do that here with the same kind of proximity. But the rest, you're probably a short drive. So just something to think about. I do think it would be really nice. And it's a high school too, right? So I don't know if your kids are walking by themselves or with their friends. That'd be pretty awesome if you're used to driving your kids to school every day. So there's that. The next one, so Sky Ranch School next to the Sky Ranch neighborhood. This gives you a central Sarasota version. So Sky Ranch School is a K through 8. That is already open. That is cool because of where it sits. So it sits on this street, Lorraine, which runs pretty long because it goes up to Lakewood Ranch too. But if you looked at, just to kind of, that's why I'm going in this order. It's a cool way to kind of see, to go to different parts of town, because you're probably shopping neighborhoods right now. You might be starting with school, but you might be starting with neighborhood. And this would give you similar options in different parts of town. So you're not like, I have to live in Venice because I want that school necessarily. So where this is right here. It looks further than it is. Like it's all green, but it's not that far from the coast. You're like 11, 12 miles. We were here in the first one, down here, and this one sits here. So you're parallel to like Siesta Key. And there's a big neighborhood. So again, that's a K through 8. There's a big neighborhood called Sky Ranch here as well. And it has like a 3-part neighborhood. So it's Esplanade at Sky Ranch. It's mostly Taylor Morrison, Casilla at Sky Ranch. And then there's townhomes. And that's going to be like 3,000 plus homes. A lot of wonderful amenities. It's pretty lovely. I mean, it's kind of the only presence of new construction really materially in that area. The rest is in the Wellen Park area to the south or Lakewood Ranch to the northeast. But you can see like it's got a cafe, has almost like a little co-working kind of looking area, multiple pools. There's a sports complex called Turner Park, I think. So you can see, I mean, it looks like kind of like hotel-ish with the amenities. This is called the Hub, but you kind of get the point. But if you want to be in central Sarasota, you're like, I don't want to be up in Lakewood Ranch and I don't want to be far south, then you're going to be at the mercy of resales mostly and the schools that already exist in that area. So this is probably going to be mostly supported by this one neighborhood, this school. So I think that'd be another cool thing if you're relocating with a high schooler. We have Lake Manatee. This is a new school in Lakewood Ranch. Pre-K through 5th grade already open for the 25-26 school year. The middle school should be open mid-2026, so 6th through 8th grade. That's another good option because what it does is it basically puts you here. It's right here. So it's between Uline and Bourneside. And so if you're in any of these neighborhoods up here, it's a very family-friendly district. Even if you're not Esplanade Azario, you might be Park East at Azario. Sweetwater is very family-friendly. Lorraine Lakes was one of the most family-friendly. There's a school bus kind of lane right in the neighborhood. Solera, D.R. Horton, this is a 55 and up. But Yellowstone's going to be another one. Palm Grove is Neal. Calusa is another Lennar. And what they did with Lakewood Ranch is they basically, these were the first like couple neighborhoods that were built here. And then they went up here. And this is where like Lakewood Ranch High School is, and this is really family friendly. Mallory Park was like a DeValsta community, very family friendly. Central Park, same thing. The Esplanade here. And so they just, if you look at it, they just mirrored it. They just replicated it. Being northeast of the main area provides a little bit of affordability because what you do is you do this. This is Lakewood Ranch right here. So this is Waterside. It's easy, like a little dot map to see. But you can see downtown Sarasota is right here. Lakewood Ranch is a northeast conversation exclusively. Basically, if you're at the edge of this, because of angle, you are much closer to the town. In theory, if this is 7-8 miles one way to downtown Sarasota, aka also the beaches, because it's all west, you get everything. Then if you go further from it, it's deemed inherently as a logistical sacrifice. If you could be closer and get everything, wouldn't you, kind of thing. That's why you're in the town. So as you go this direction further and further, the angle puts you further from the stuff. That comes a lot of times with affordability. And that's how kind of Lakewood Ranch was evolved. So that is what you're doing here. What I just showed you is this. It's all the eye of the beholder. Again, geography dictates a lot of real estate value. And so that's why that stuff naturally is up north. It's partly because of Lakewood Ranch was kind of built in the middle first, a lot of golf course kind of situation as well. And the first thing they did is just go north of it. And then Waterside just kind of pops out of nowhere all of a sudden. And I don't think people necessarily knew that they were also going to go closer to town at some point. Typically, if you're building houses, you go where the land's at further. To say I'm going to now just go closer all of a sudden is unusual. That's kind of what that area is. That's its natural evolution. So I think that's a nice little cool addition because you have Lakewood Ranch High School here, you have Golet Elementary and Mona Middle. A lot of people really like those, but you need more of that. And they're basically replicating it over here. In addition to that, hence the mirror of this other zone, there's a high school coming right here. I found an article on it. They're calling it like AAA high school or whatever. A lot of the size schools are dictated by like A, 5A, 6A, you know, like the Venice high schools, the Venice Senior High, Sarasota High School, there's Riverview, big schools. And then you get to like the small Christian schools, there'll be a 1 or 2A. I'm assuming that's why they're calling it that. I'm guessing that's not going to be the actual name. You already have a Lakewood Ranch High School, and then there is definitely a high school going here. And so then you'll have a K through 8 and a high school. You got the whole thing. And again, it just provides the neighborhoods up here access to this kind of thing versus being over here or being awkward. Speaking of awkward, I think probably my final update for schools in this video is going to be that I found the plan for a start date of 2026 or 2027 of Lakewood Ranch Elementary. It's being called. I believe it's going to be in the Waterside District. I think it's this one here. I was trying to confirm it. There's not a lot on the internet about it. I found it on Sarasota County's like kind of development plan. It's like a coming soon project. But the thing is, what's important about that, amongst many things, is if you are below University Parkway here in Lakewood Ranch, it's the only zone that's in Sarasota County. The rest is Manatee. And because of that, I'm setting school choice aside here for a minute because that's not a guarantee. You're at the mercy of what was already there. So you go build in Waterside and you're like, here at Lakewood Ranch, the schools are amazing. And then you end up at like Tatum Ridge, or you're like being bussed over to Booker Middle and High School, which makes no sense. There's nothing wrong with the schools that are already there. It's more that they're servicing stuff that was already there. That is their intended purpose. If you build a bunch of 14 new neighborhoods around it and then shove them into an existing infrastructure, it's weird. And it doesn't fit, it doesn't make sense. And so there's gonna be a lot coming to satiate that. All these little flags, you can go, Lakewood Ranch's map's pretty sweet. You could go and see what that means. There's a bunch of stuff coming. You can see all the flags are some sort of education system. So anyway, that's update number 1. Update number 2 is another kind of category idea. I have been seeing a pretty big emergence, and I think this will continue both because of the market and just land availability of boutique stuff. So if you wanted to get in a certain area, and still that's the case for most things, and it wasn't like a huge master plan, like east of Sarasota kind of conversation, then you did urban infill. You have to literally knock down someone else's house or buy a infill lot in a neighborhood that already existed to get to the area you wanted, because you can no longer build that neighborhood because they did it 40 years ago. Which is difficult for a lot of reasons. One, like the chance that you're going to acquire land that was not already acquired by a developer in a popular town for an affordable enough price to build what you want is so difficult to do, because most of that land trades behind closed doors. You know, they knock on the doors of people that have lived in it forever and they acquire it, and then they spec it out and they sell it to you for what they wanted post completion of project, that kind of thing. So it's very competitive. And so if you even got something at 500 grand, the chance you could build under 2 million just too difficult, because the price per square foot would kill you on the land. So anyway, that's just a hard proposition to be like, to be in this area, my only option is that one thing, and especially if you have a budget that's under $1 million. Home builders, which are much more equipped to do this than you or I, carve out small sections of stuff in areas, right? So they can't build 1,500 homes in areas, but they could build 27, 25, 13, either in the back of an existing neighborhood in a good area, or just like get a little cul-de-sac and just like, loop one street. So anyway, I wanted to show you a couple of those because I think this is a really cool idea. It's not for everybody, but you'll know it the minute you see it. And it'll make you, if it's not right for you, it'll at the very least make you feel even better about your decision. Be like, I get it, that's cool. I'm gonna go 14 miles one way and live in a guarantee. So I like the binary aspect that is. Sam Rogers is one doing 2 projects that I like right now. They built this isn't one of the 2, but they built Grand Place in Wellen Park. That's kind of boutique custom neighborhood. They're a full custom builder. I think the guy that owns it still, from what I understand, walks every single lot in his neighborhoods, and he's like over 90 years old. Very family-centric company. I heard it's a great experience. They're building one called Stonebridge, and that is going in Palmer Ranch, which is a back in the day popular suburb. They're 70 feet wide. They're going to only do 27 lots. So this is what I mean. You see the aspect of it. Like they're just getting 27 lots in an existing neighborhood. But one, you can do custom and with a plan, right? So you can go in and talk to them about it, have it rendered. You don't have to piece this whole thing together yourself and get the whole crew. So that's cool, but what's even cooler is the location. So like this is what you're able to do. This is the name of the game, being west of I-75. Look at where you sit. Because even like that Sky Ranch, I don't think it's materially far, but look at the difference. Because they needed the land. They're building 3,000 homes out there. You do 27 in a neighborhood that already existed, then you get the new house in the area that you would have done if the whole thing was new, right? You probably would have put Wellen Park closer to this and Lakewood Ranch closer to this if it was available. And so it could give you the best of both worlds if you're not like super romantic about amenities, I think. And your proximity is just incredible, like the lower Siesta Key Bridge is Stickney Point is a stone's throw. Venice isn't that far, you really sit in a fantastic area in terms of Sarasota. Another one that's kind of similar, cheaper price point, different builder, obviously. Pulte is building one called Grandura, but you can do floor plans that are in other neighborhoods. Like if you're familiar with the Mystique, that's in here. I think Ruby's a new one, but these are very narrow lots that are kind of like long and lean. You can technically do a pool, but it's a stretch. But I think you'll be almost 100% under $1 million, all the price points here. But look at the location, so I think that is another really interesting play. I mean, that location in Sarasota is incredible. I mean, you're adjacent to Oyster Bay. You have the northern Siesta Key Bridge or the southern, but then also like the thing is if you can access Siesta, downtown Sarasota, Lido, and then lower Longboat Key, I mean, it's kind of hard to beat. That's everything. That's all the art, all the culture, the whole thing, So that's another one to keep a lookout for. I don't think they released pricing technically, but it is very soon. There's already a sales guy assigned to it. He is sitting in Beach Walk right now. Nice gentleman, so I can hook you up with any information you want. Another one that Sam Rogers is doing, this builder, is Arbor Lake Preserve. So this is a really cool one. We've heard rumblings about this one forever. So this is 37, it looks like, if they sell the parking spot. Might be only 30. So whatever they do with this, but if they don't do anything with that, it could be a sweet easement for you. They are 90 feet wide, I believe. I think it's only by 130 or 120, but 90 is pretty wide. You can pretty much call your shots on like a nice custom home there. So that's something to really look out for. This one is located right here. This looks really far because of the map, but the entire Sarasota Metro is incredibly narrow. So what far is in Sarasota is not far in perspective to what people are probably used to. So this is 9.8 miles over to the stuff. So food for thought there. It's kind of near the Founders Club area. It's below Lakewood Ranch. This is Waterside right here. So that's another one. This is just more of the concept of them doing this. I see this happening a lot more. They're doing this with condominiums as well. They're going more urban and more boutique. And then Seaflower is a peacock. This is much more master plan. But even stuff like this, like look at where this one's based. It was a defunct flower farm, hence the name. And so that downtown, if you remember what I showed you on that map, this is downtown Sarasota. And this is like kind of the Lido area, lower Longboat Key. You can see kind of the forks there of that neighborhood. And then Siesta's here. So this would be above it. So this is more adjacent to, this is Anna Maria Island, like Bradenton Beach, Holmes Beach, all that. This is the upper part of Longboat Key. So this is really close to the beach. And it's a multiple builder master plan community. That's really interesting too. So not only are they getting closer to the main parts of town in the mainland, but they're also able to get closer to the coast as they go more unique here, which is cool. This one's going to be, you have to really vet it out because it's, if you go north of downtown Sarasota, it's not as mature as going south. So, but you can see, I mean, the ability to come in here and have like, not a mini Lakewood Ranch, but it's much smaller, but to be able to do like 1,200 homes built by multiple different builders and that are all like with perspective affordable. You can see like all the retail they're going to have in here. There's a Village Green, that's what I was trying to show you, where they're going to have like farmers markets and stuff like that as well. So yeah, you can kind of see it's going to look really nice, but to be this close to the water, typically you can't also have suburbia. I think that combination is another thing they can do when they get creative about land arrangement. Okay, update number 3, we will just kind of call our options maybe fleeting update. And I had a conversation yesterday at the time I'm filming this that is just really interesting because it kind of changed my perspective of it a little bit. But when you look at the video on Sunday, if you saw that, I showed a map that broke down Florida in regions, 6 of them, and then it clustered all the new construction density to the regions. And if you look at that, Southwest Florida had 36% of all the 1,500 neighborhoods building right now, the largest share of the entire state in a pretty small metro area versus Orlando, Central Florida kind of stuff. 36% of all the new construction was being built there. You look at that on a map, a lot of it's in Sarasota, most of it, not Tampa or Naples. It feels like endless options. Every time you turn around, and especially in this kind of market where buyers have more leverage, it feels like it's just infinite. Timing doesn't matter near as much because there's going to be something else that pops up. In certain cases, I think that could mess you up for stuff that isn't infinite. Esplanade Azario is a great example. This is a community that sits in the northeast area of Lakewood Ranch. It's gone in and out of huge favor depending on like where the prices were and all that kind of stuff, but it sits up in this kind of region here. It's a 55 and up community without saying it, more or less. It is as lifestyle driven as it gets. I think that the lady I was talking to yesterday said that they've taken 2 group trips, like cooking, like overseas kind of trips. Because that's how involved the neighbors are with each other. It's got a bar at the pool with food service. It's just the way they arrange the homes. It's beautiful. Not age restricted, but it kind of sits in that range of that prototypical Florida retirement. This community is a deeded golf community. It's got a beautiful golf course, but when it's closed out, more or less half of the 1,500 homes will have a golf and social membership, and the other will just have a social membership. The importance of that is it's a guaranteed golf. And where they currently sit, of the 1,400 homes as I'm filming today's video, 245 left in the entire community, and they're not all golf memberships. They think that their runway to sell that is only 12 to 14 months, and then you will be 100% at the mercy of resale beyond that. One interesting thing is that 160 of those 245, they're speccing inventory home, that's something that Taylor Morrison has not done in abundance in the past. So more than half of them, they're going inventory. I think it's probably a large portion of that is cost control, but also, I'm not going to get crazy deep in this video, but like the Manatee County has increased a fee related to permit pulling. And so what they did, they went in advance of that being implemented, and they basically pulled a bunch of permits. And so even though a lot of these are specs, a good portion of them, you can still do the design session. They've already done structural because they permitted, but you can pick your own design. So I think that's nice as well. But the thing is that if you really look at it and say, I'm going to be fine, there's a million communities around here, and you do value what this community offers as far as the lifestyle combination with the golf, you got to look and say, is there really a bunch of options? Because I would argue there is not, and definitely not apples to apples. Once this is done and you say, what else can I do? There's not. And I've not heard a rumbling of anything coming beyond it. So I thought they were going to do golf at Sky Ranch. They did not. But so if they announced it in December, like, okay, we're going to do a new golf one, like your runway is not anytime near where we're at now. So if this goes away, what else are you going to do? Something to really consider, right? Because Lakewood National is done. That's Lennar. Calusa National is their new one. That's also Lennar. So again, these are two very different homes in these two communities. Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club, which sits in the lower part of Lakewood Ranch, it's not deeded. It's a privately owned club. It's going to be 4 golf courses because they pulled in legacy from the public outside the gates, inside. It's beautiful, all that kind of stuff, but it's limited to memberships. Do you have one? Do you not? And do you like to golf on privately owned clubs? I don't know. There's no other golf besides that. I mean, you have Esplanade, the other Esplanade in Lakewood Ranch, which set over here by Taylor Morrison, but that's resale because that was the sister neighborhood before it. You go down to Venice, you have Sarasota National, which is done, which is Lennar. You have Wellen Park Golf and Country Club, which is actually building, which is also Lennar. And it's a completely different location. So you kind of get my point here. I mean, you have Soletta. I don't know if you ever saw that one. This was kind of a cool club, actually. This is a new neighborhood that is going to be mixed custom builder. John Cannon and Anchor. Those are 2 really good ones to combine, by the way. But it's a very boutique. I think it's like 100-something homes. It's got a beautiful golf course, but it's pretty far east. There's another one called Mayaca that's coming that is no residential home neighborhood or whatever. So all that to say that this is one where I would start almost like arguing that, okay, this is a neighborhood that if you'd been around for a while, it was a neighborhood that was, during COVID, it was competing with like nothing, basically. What you were faced with, you had this sitting up here, which was awesome. Waterside was not this, though. You had Lake House Cove, you had Shoreview, which is Pulte, and then you had Windward, which was Neal, and you had none of the other stuff was built yet. And then up here you had Lorraine Lakes had a little bit going on, but it was Lennar. Sapphire Point was a completely different neighborhood. It was Pulte. Sweetwater did not exist yet. Crestwind's 55 and up. Solera is like an old school, small boutique D.R. Horton. Star Farms did not exist. Palm Grove, no. None of this was here. And so if you took all that off the map, and then you had this neighborhood up here, what they were fighting was, do I want to go this far up in Lakewood Ranch? That was kind of the decision. They're like, if I'm not romantic about golf, I'm going, I took 1 million people between here. But this community is just unbelievable when you got up there. So they were like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice the location. I'm going to get up there. And it went crazy because of that. But at that time, the stuff that they're selling for $1.2 million now costs $650. The stuff that sold for $950 in 2020 is now at $1.5. And so if you have the history I have, you're kind of fighting those demons. And that's where I would typically start the conversation, by trying to debunk the value because of the changes. There's no more communities to pick from now. So is that as elegant as it was against fewer competition? How do you pay this for a house that costs this? That kind of thing. But as you continue to do that, you start to run out of reasons that it's a bad idea, because the scarcity is going to be very real. And I would not underestimate that. If you love the Lake Club at the time and you're like, it's a place that if you like this, there's nothing else that feels like it. It is unbelievable. There's like a little vineyard in it, incredible looking place. Like their clubhouse looks like a castle. So I've stood at the back of the clubhouse with people because it has like a long view, and they've asked where the golf course is because that's how it looks. And there's not a golf course in there, but it's just so classy. So if you love that, then your feeling of what everything else feels anticlimactic. Well, if you assume that Wild Blue, which is the predecessor to that in some ways, was going to feel the same way, then you're like, that's cool because it's 550 homes. The Lake Club was built out over multiple years. So the last couple of years, your only access to it was really the Genoa section, which was stock. And a lot of people felt like stock is kind of more semi-custom than their custom. So they wanted a higher end house. So they wanted to wait for the Arthur Ruttenberg, Lee Wetherington, the Anchor, John Cannon of the world. And they're all in Wild Blue, but Wild Blue is 550 homes. It feels a little bit more pinched in some ways than the Lake Club did. The aesthetic is not the same. And so if you were like, that's not what I thought it was going to be, then now Lake Club is fully resale. And you could have been in there in the last phase with some perspective affordability versus now. And it's just one of those things. So anyway, I won't go into soapbox too much with this, but that is something where I think overlooked communities, assuming that you're going to have a bunch behind it. When it comes to golf, like you've got to really get serious. Like, do you want to try to figure that out or not? Because I've not heard anything. And the Esplanade that's coming, there's another Esplanade that's coming to Waterside, no golf. The Esplanade that is coming to Wellen Park, there's no golf either. They're only going to do the social arm of that idea. And I think Lennar will keep doing their thing. But if you want a higher end house, then, that's, I don't know, just food for thought there. But what you're going to be working with in Esplanade, if you do decide to get serious, one, please reach out. We know everything. But two, $175K non-golf is going to be your cheapest price point. That's the attached model. It's called the Ibis. The only benefit to that would be one, price point, obviously. But two, it's the only model that has the HOA that puts in reserves because it's attached that will pay for future roof and exterior fixes. They're going to go up to 1.7 million all in, fully spec'd on golf. And that's the Palazzo. Palazzo is nice. You can fully upgraded. You can get it to like 3,400 square feet. It's one of the best floor plans on a single story for Florida kind of living that I've seen. It just fits it perfectly. It's like 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, big den, extended kitchen, extended patio. It sits on a lot where you can do a wonderful pool. The views in that neighborhood are unbelievable if you're on golf. So that's the house that just has appreciated an insane amount over the last couple of years. So the people that got that in 2020 are probably just insanely up. And then the Lazio is the son or daughter of the Palazzo, literally exactly the same, smaller. And so if you wanted the 2,300 square foot version of that house I just mentioned, that used to run in like the 7s, 8s. And now because that one's out in the Lazio is going to follow behind it, probably in the 1.2 range. So anyway, still think it's interesting today. I'd at least take a harder look at it before you do other things. And that is number 3. Okay, update number 4, kind of a random one, but I just wanted to popcorn around some new things that just released or on the horizon as far as Sarasota in the non-real estate world mostly. So one of them is we have I don't know if you're familiar with University Town Center. It's a really nice, like kind of open air, like mall district, for lack of better words. It's got multiple sides of the street, just kind of those really nice, like suburban looking things, as you can see here. But they're starting to get like a lot of what I like about Tampa is kind of coming there, which is not only a good sign for just like to make you feel good about the area's development, but it's cooler. So this is a picture someone took of the coming soon stuff, but like Olivia, so that is a restaurant in Tampa and St. Pete, I believe too. Italian, but you kind of see the vibe. That is coming. On Swan is another one. That's one of my favorite districts in Florida. It's called Hyde Park Village. It's South Tampa. And so that's right here on the edge, just to give you an idea of aesthetic. That's coming there. This is one of the most popular, I think it might be the highest ranked or close to the highest ranked breakfast restaurant in Sarasota. It's up in St. Armand Circle. So they're getting a location there. And you kind of see the idea. So I think that's all cool. It's great to just add to that district. There's a Ford's Garage and, those kind of restaurants. But to get some of this cooler stuff that's not everywhere, I think it's going to be really nice and just tells you it's a testament for what that area is going to be. One of the newest things that opened, this is crazy looking, is this new Moat Marine. Moat Marine is an aquarium that's in the Longboat Key area. It's very much like an education and rehab first type of deal versus just aesthetic. As I'm filming this, it opened today. So this new research aquarium, but you see, look at the renderings of this thing. It's insane. So that sits right in the middle of that district where those restaurants are going. So I think that's a really cool thing it's going to add to the area. There's already a pop stroke putt place there. There's like an indoor sauna place there. There's a Barnes & Noble. It's a very lovely spot. There's a children's playground, huge lakes, stuff like that. So that opened today. That's something worth definitely checking out. Even on a visit would be cool for your kids. Like they do a really great job. So there's that. Another district that people really enjoy is called Waterside Place, right down the street from University Town Center, which I just showed. This is a proper suburban downtown. Typically, you go to the suburbs, you get like a couple like corner, there's a couple places to eat, bank and CVS and all that kind of stuff. This is a proper downtown. This puts the argument of everything but the beach. You go to Lakewood Ranch, you have this. You don't need to be running to downtown Sarasota all the time if you have your own version out there. And you can see the look of this thing. It's really nice. Some shops, there's like a little park area, there's volleyball, all kinds of stuff. So they have a nice array of restaurants already. So they have a Mexican restaurant, they have the donut, they have the seafood, and there is a Good Liquid Brewing and a distillery right there that a lot of people like, right on the water, breakfast, so something for everybody. Korean Steakhouse, O&A Coffee, their first location's downtown Sarasota. This is their second. And yeah, you kind of get the point here. But Allswell is a gastropub that is newly released. And then there's a craft sandwich place coming as well. So that's going to be nice. So that'll add to the vibe there. This district is also what hosts Lakewood Ranch's Farmers Market, which was just ranked the #1 rated farmers market in the entire United States, not just Florida. So that is a cool spot. This is a great district, like if you have kids especially, because what they do is they'll go farmers market, and then this area is very insulated, so they'll do open containers. So you can go to Good Liquid Brewing and get a beer, and you can like walk around or whatever you want to do. And there's 25-foot wide sidewalks, a lot of like green space. So this is one of those farmers markets where it's like not just on top of everything. So it's really pleasant. Another update is a huge new sports complex is coming to the 17th Street area above downtown Sarasota. This is going to be kind of a cool addition because I think the angle here is to try to host tournaments and stuff like that. But sports is massive in Sarasota, and this is not going to hurt it. So you see softball fields, they're doing synthetic turf, a lot of batting cages, bullpens, they're having all this. So I think that's going to be really nice, especially in that area, to get something new over there. So 17th Street Regional Sports Complex, keep a lookout for that. The Sarasota Airport also is continuing to expand. So SRQ is a very nice thing if you can fly in there and you don't have to do Southwest down to Fort Myers or Tampa. They're not incredibly far. Like, you know, you're 60 miles one way from Lakewood Ranch to TPA. But if you can do Sarasota, I mean, it's just like easy in, out, feels like a regional airport, but it's not. And I find it to be awesome. So the more they expand, not only will it get nicer, but they'll have more terminals. They'll have a greater ability to service like Southwest and wherever else you're getting into. So that is also a nice little perk. Okay, and our fifth and final update as we conclude today's video, I just want to talk about some movement with road developments mainly. Some of this stuff they're going to open up completely, like it wasn't there, now it's going to be there. In addition to expansion, is going to really help a lot of the neighborhoods live right now in a big way. So one of those big ones is the cut over to the coast from Wellen Park. Again, Wellen Park's that south area down in Venice, the first one we talked about. So right now there's this road right here called Minnesota Beach Road, and you can see it kind of hook around here. And then it kind of dies here. Most of Wellen Park's here. So like that's the perspective of this right here. And so imagine if you don't have the ability to go from here, which is the new Playmore district, to here, then you're at the mercy of up, down and around, or up and around. And so what they're proposing right here is to take this straight over, which imagine if you lived in Palmyra or any of these kind of neighborhoods. Like if you're like a Lake Spur, you could shoot down. If you're anywhere in here, I think that's going to really be a big move for these neighborhoods, because just think about the beach proximity there. Like one of the big benefits of being in this area is, one, you're 18 minutes to 4 different beaches, right? Because you're so low. You have Minnesota Key, but then you go up here, you have Venice Beach, Casperson, which is the Shark's Tooth Beach, and Brohard, which is the only dog beach in the county. So that's a big one. So I wanted to mention that. Yeah, so you can kind of see this little map right here. That's what they're going to do. Another one is Lorraine Road in general. They're doing a bunch of stuff here, so you can kind of see all these different expansions. So, which is going to add to how you get out of Lakewood Ranch. So the big thing with Lakewood Ranch, I don't have that map pulled up anymore, but the big thing with Lakewood Ranch is it's the same kind of deal. So if you were in Lakewood Ranch for, depending on when you got in there, basically like to get to stuff in town, you have to go east to west. It's the only way. So depending on how high you're up, you got to catch some road to go down, and then you got to catch another road to go over. So like if you're upper Lakewood Ranch, you might catch the interstate, or 301 over here to head down. And then if you're up north, you're gonna catch Fruitville and go over. So it's just a big grid system. As Lakewood Ranch expanded, they went east. And so imagine if you can't go down and you're east, you have to go west, down, west again. And so it made the neighborhoods over here, like Esplanade, Zaria, Sweetwater, all the eastern ones, Catalina, a lot less attractive because there's no other way out. So if they created another down, then it really changes how far you are in those neighborhoods. And so it really changes, that little geography shift changes a lot of the balance. And it's also like, you're getting your kids to school, just getting out of Lakewood Ranch or getting out of some of these areas is incredibly difficult if there's only one or two bottleneck roads to get out. And that's kind of how it exists now in certain ways. So like, the parallel version of the interstate was Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, which started cutting down. Lorraine Road's really the big one now because that's your other cut, and all the neighborhoods over here, that's the main cut. So that's kind of the premise of why that matters at all. One of the big ones they're doing is the Fruitville to Palmer. So it's basically cutting down further, right? So this is Fruitville, that's your cutover road. So if you stay on Lorraine, this is Palmer. So that is going to be a new 4-lane. Further south, because Lorraine goes really far, if you get to that Sky Ranch area, which was involved in multiple updates today, a 4-lane and a 2-lane. And what that is, 72 is Clark Road. They all have a number and a name, basically. And there, you see Lorraine Road still cutting down. So what that is going to be, it's going to be below State Road, below Clark Road, and that's going to kind of loop up. So that expansion is going to allow you to have access going south to north much easier. They're going to do some stuff above Northern Lakewood Ranch too. What you're looking at mostly from my latest data is the Fruitville to Palmer, which is the one I showed you here. That is estimated to be complete by the end of 2026. The upper Lorraine Road to the northern part of Lakewood Ranch is there. I'm hearing that's not going to be wide until maybe 2030. And I've also heard they delayed the expansion of Lorraine down south to the Sky Ranch to Nokomis area, some of the southern stuff. So it's a moving target. But the important thing is when you're looking at buying, if you haven't bought yet, and you're going to build a house, and you're going to go east, it would be really relevant to see what's planned. Because some things that could seem real negative now might not be at all. It might have been better if apples were apples. You could have picked either one and the timing didn't matter. Then you might have picked option B if you knew what it was going to be. Building a house, it might take 14 months. Like negatives now could not exist by the time you move in. So just some things to think about. And again, like this stuff, since it moves so fast, if you have any questions related to that, a one-on-one conversation could maybe be much more helpful than an evergreen video. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to this channel. We have a lot of great stuff planned for the balance of the year. Every Wednesday and Sunday, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. If you are liking any of this content, you're considering a move, new construction, resale, does not matter, please consider reaching out. I own a boutique real estate brokerage called the Sunshine State Company. It's very much an extension of our methodology here. We are an upfront overload of information to ease the entire rest of the process. It's kind of a no regrets model. We want you to be equipped to really feel the best about your decision because you couldn't have known anything else when you made that decision. And then when you come to town, you're just validating it. We have a couple new things that have released. One guide I really like, I've featured it on a video on Sunday, is the New Home Buyer's Guide. If you go to my free guides, it's the sunshineStateCo.com, the free guides page. You can sign up for the newsletter there, which I'll talk about in a minute. We have a bunch of guides here. It's just like a quick, I think, a 2-question form for that thing. But it's got the whole state of Florida separated by new construction density for the 1,500 plus communities. We walk through every single metro in the state by region and talk about what they are, even name specific favorite communities, highlight builders and say the difference between them. And then just different relocation guides. This is kind of like a Florida relocation guide, and et cetera. The newsletter is probably one of the best things I think we personally put out. It's a manifesto twice a month, middle of the month, end of month. And it's not a recap as much as it's a full update of everything, but it's in consumable segments. It's like bullet all the way down. And we exhaust everything we were doing, everything we're learning, et cetera, in one period of 14 days, and then we do it again. So it's something that if you're on that, we're probably not getting that information any other way. So everything that I'm doing in this ecosystem, I'm trying to say where if you consumed all of it, which I don't know how many people do, but if you did, it is incremental value at every step. It's not just a different version of the same thing. Thank you guys so much for consuming any of my content. We'll see you on the next one.